Oh, hi there. Today we're gonna continue our sexual education and in BDSM too. And as an experienced master, I managed to create a simple test that really shows off a good bottom, a submissive one. From the very beginning, I usually do it and see the reaction. And if a guy who bottoms performing well, then I know exactly that it's the kind of a guy that I need for me to properly use him. And that way I understand that it's the proper potential candidate for a good slave training. You see, we're gonna talk about the gay bottom test that I implemented a long time ago and it never failed me. And we're not gonna spend any more time without me telling you what it is, and you probably guess it, or you might be thinking about it. You see, when you only meet a guy in public, or it's your one of the first meetings, there is no much things you can do, but what you can do for sure is that you say him to do his oral duties, okay? I just call it that way. Blowjob is a good test of a bottom. Why is it so? It's just simply because of the activity itself. You see, when you are getting the pussy stretching, right? You receive that stimulation, but when it comes to a blowjob, the one who is going down, the one who is performing the oral act, is simply getting absolutely non-physical stimulation, but on the other hand, and that's exactly the reason why it's a good test, he gets a lot of psychological pleasure. And if you just, it doesn't really come to the skills itself, but the amount and enthusiasm in the process. Because skills are, you see, acquirable, right? But the pleasure in the process is really comes down to your psychological traits or your character and how you feel yourself and present to the world. And that's what I was talking about. Going down on an alpha on the first day is really a good indicator, and you can know it for sure that the guy who loves to give that blowjobs is a good submissive and potentially a good slave, because in his mind he is receiving the pleasure by giving a head. Can you imagine that? You are simply using someone's throat, and the bottom thinks that he's the lucky one. That's exactly the potential guy that I tend to pick for a future slave training, because the pleasers are hot and guys who love to please are hot. And if you're one of them, don't forget to check out the links in the description for a more advanced training. But right now we're gonna talk about the activity itself. You see, why I tend to prefer the oral over the breathing is because breathing in my case is like a cherry on top. You see, you do it occasionally, but it really makes you appreciate it more, okay? And when you're breathing thigh hole, and obviously if you have sex once a day, the hole, especially with my tool, will never be tight, but when we're talking about that throat of yours, it's ready and should be available everywhere. And if we go out, if we are just simply handing and just do our business. For example, a few days ago, one of the bitches came to my place for a whole day, and that day he swallowed 4 loads. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine getting bread 4 times? That's not something that I tend to do regularly, and why I tend to You see, use the throats more regularly because I as an alpha have a lot of things to do, and that day I wasn't, you see, getting distracted. Otherwise, completely otherwise, I was sitting doing my business, and from time to time, I simply told him to go down under the table. And you see, there is nothing better than sitting and working on your project and feeling your tool is getting properly pleased by the guy sitting underneath the table, who is more than a lucky one, who feels himself proud and who will do it again and again and again in order to receive the approval from master. That's exactly why I tend to prefer a good oral. And thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out my other videos, and of course links in the description. See you. And you see, I don't always tend to say that, but if you watch the video to that point, congratulations. You're a huge and potentially good slave because you're willing to learn one.